And a warm welcome to you, Supriya. It's actually truly an honor to have you on our podcast today. And, we are extending a warm welcome on a rainy day in Pune. So I think it's a much needed respite for all of us. Um, just to give you a little bit brief about Surfing with the Storm and the background about where we kind of thought we'll start this. So essentially a part of the BMT Support Foundation, we thought it was essential that when we looked at survivorship, I think we looked at the extended definition of the word survivorship. And, we not only looked at, I'd say people who come out of cancer, but even people who come out of very, very difficult journeys in their life. And very, very difficult journeys, I think, in their lives, either through, maybe a domestic violence, or maybe an episode of losing a loved one, or maybe a sudden disability that's come in their way out of nowhere, and how they're able to cope up with that. So we really, expanded this definition of the word survivorship and thought that there are so many people from whom we can, actually dive into these pockets of wisdom and learn from them. And one such person is right in front of us, Supriya. So thank you again, Supriya, for accepting our request and being on the call.
Actually, I should be the one to say thank you because the honor is all mine. Like you rightly said, that it's very, very rare that people want to share what's happened in their lives and leave about being celebrated. And today you've given us that platform. So that's amazing. And I'm honored to be here. So thank you so much for having me today.
No, absolutely. I think the honor is all ours. And so for the audience, let us just give us a quick background about, who Supriya is. And obviously we'll know more about her during the interview. But usually it is matrimony and then marriage. But in Supriya's case, I think it is marriage and then matrimony. So I think it's an amazing combination of how, she found the right partner at the right time, and they were just so much in love, getting married. And 15 days, like 2 weeks into the marriage, when we are thinking about what kind of decor do we want to have in the house, or which kind of pardas to buy, or what kind of pillows or dining table to have, suddenly you're broken with the news that, okay, one of the partner has leukemia, and the whole matrix just suddenly goes for a toss, and how she's able to cope with that. So we'll dive more into that journey, but more importantly, I think how she comes out of it and is able to do something I think is path breaking, honestly speaking, because very few people would even have the courage to step into that zone of trying to do what she's trying to do with Atman Matrimonial. So we will straight away jump into the questions, Supriya, if you're kind of ready. And and just give us, you've been a Puneri Mulgi, throughout. And so how has it been growing up in Pune and living here, your values? And so just give us and your background, education and stuff. So can you give us a brief about who you are?
So Neeraj, I come from a family where we were 4 siblings. We are still together. And both parents, we lost them at a very young age. So my father was always suffering from some or the other heart ailment or, stomach ailments. So we had been visiting hospitals ever since we were maybe 12, 13 years. So kind of hospitals never scared us because it was such a routine for us, right? And I would say now looking back that that's what was the strong point for us today, because when yes, my husband's leukemia diagnosis did come up, that was one of the things that it didn't scare me, because we had such close associations with doctors and nurses and being injected, because my dad used to have heart attacks right in front of us. So we had seen what kind of pain a person suffers. Both my parents were extremely strong valued people. Right from our childhood, we were asked to respect and love other human beings, irrespective of who they were. So we had maids and we had drivers in our house whom we couldn't call by their first names. So they were either uncles or kaka and maushi, as in Marathi we would say. And the first thing when they would come for their jobs was to serve them a glass of water, then a cup of hot tea, irrespective of how you felt. So that was something that we grew up with, all of us. And they always told us one thing, that it is these people who, because of whom our lives have become so much easier. If they were not there, our lives would not be as easy as it is right now. And that is something that we all, four of us, have carried into our lives growing up. So, yes, human value is extremely important. To being independent. As kids, we were made to do everything on our own, right from sewing a chappal if it was torn, so or every small thing. And being four of us together, so sharing came naturally to us. So whatever resources were available had to be shared with the others. So I guess that was where these values came from, right from the beginning, loving other human beings and accepting them as they are. So that was one of the strongest points I would say that I remember growing up with them. Two, yes, another strong point which made me what I am today is my father was the type who believed that, girls or women shouldn't do certain things and men should be the ones who should be doing those. And as a rebel that I was, I did all those things just to prove that I'm not less. So thanks to him, I guess I became a stronger person, because that is what made me search for my strengths. It made me search for what I can do. And all these things, Neerath, I think have stayed with us and made us much stronger human beings today. So these values are what have made me what I am.
Yeah, and I'm sure, values play a long way in kind of, shaping your personality. But also, I think, education also has a huge role here. So what's been your background in terms of education and
So
your work in general?
education wise, I was an average student because sitting down and studying was not me. I rather do things with my hand. So I used to love doing craft and sculpting a little bit and drawing and painting. And books were really not my cup of tea. But yes, what interested me was science, always. Human anatomy was something that always interested me. And at a very young age, in those days, we used to get these books called Tell Me Why. So, which gave you scientific answers to everything. So, those were the books that we were introduced to at a very young age. So, being a science person, yes, I chose to become a Bachelor of Science. And I did my bachelor's in home science from SNDT University. And my major subject was human development. So in that, my major subject again was child psychology, where uh, we learned a lot about how to handle not only just kids but also human psychology. Later on, I went on to finish my post graduation in psychotherapy and counseling, but that came a bit later because as soon as I finished college, I wanted to kind of taste, getting salary and how does it feel. So I started working in a school as a kindergarten teacher at the age of 20. And I just hooked on and being with kids of varied ages and teaching
Hmm.
them, and that was very different. So I continued. So I was a teacher, a school counselor for almost 10 years. Then I did my psychotherapy and counseling. I also tried working with call center for two
Hmm.
years, but that didn't work much because what was the fun part of working in call center that was probably just speaking to those people abroad. In those days, call center people were they were not allowed to say that we are Asians. So we were given accent training and we were given a false name and false identity.
Yeah.
So that was a fun part, but I don't like working with computers, so it didn't interest me too much. So I quit the job when they wanted me to go to US for my further
Hmm.
study or training, and I didn't want to because I'm an absolute hardcore patriot. So I didn't want to leave India and go for my training. So I quit the job. So after that, this is the journey that we're going to talk about.
Wow. 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 So thank you so much. And, I've had the privilege of meeting Rahul, and he's a wonderful person, an absolute sweetheart. So did you know Rahul beforehand, or was it like an arranged marriage for you guys? And how did this shape up?
Okay, so Neeraj, before this, when we have spoken, we've always said that the universe orchestrates everything for you, right?
Hmm.
So that's what the universe did. So I was in a relationship before, but it did not materialize. And then
Hmm.
I had decided that I would never get married. So I was 30, and
Mhm.
everybody around me was like, no, you should get married. And I was the only one saying, no, I don't need to. And that is when the universe had planned something different for me. So Rahul's cousin, who is in Air Force, he was posted in Pune, and his wife happened to join the same school that I was working in. So we became very close friends. And then she started, this that I have this brother-in-law, and he's very sweet, and I think you guys will get around. And it took 1 year of persuasion on both sides, because on the other hand, Rahul's cousin was doing the same with him. So after 1 year, we finally agreed to meet. And we met for 45 minutes. And just like CCD, Cafe Coffee Day says, that a lot happens in a cup of coffee, a lot did happen. And we just decided that, yes, I think we should go ahead with this. So in 45 minutes, we decided that we are the ones to get hooked up.
Amazing. I think how universe conspired these things is kind of always, going to be unknown for all of us. But, like you get married, and then you're just getting to know Rahul a little better. And how did you take when the news actually came in less than 2 weeks that, okay, there is, Rahul has leukemia, and and then what? So, obviously there are so many questions around just getting married and just starting a life like right now. There's so many dreams people build up and stuff like that. What was going through your mind when this whole thing happened? How did you
Uh,
take it?
yeah. So Neeraj, diagnosis of leukemia was accident for us. Like
Mhm.
we just come back from our honeymoon, and we still had a couple of days off on our hands. So we were just roaming around in Pune city, and suddenly he told me that he had a blocked ear. So I said, like we had gone to Manali and stuff. So I said it could have been the altitude, and we've just come back. So it must be the air pressure. So give it some time. So he said, no, Supriya, it's been there for quite some time. So I said, do you have a physician that you have, a family physician that we could meet? And he said, no. And me being,
Mhm.
like I said, a hospital person, so I knew a ENT specialist very closely. So I said, you want to go there. When we
Mhm.
went there, the doctor asked me a lot of questions. Like he asked me, did he have an accident? So I said, no. So he said, there's a lot of blood accumulated in his ear. So he said, that happens only when you have a head injury. So I said, no. So he said, okay, let me give you medicines for 5 days, and let's see, we'll take it from there. So we got out, and while we were walking, this guy holds my hand and he says, okay, I don't mean to scare you, but I have been having this blind spot on my left eye for a week. And I was like, okay, let's get that checked out. And again, I asked him if he knew some doctor. He said no. So we walked out to the ophthalmologist that I knew. And she came out and she started asking me the same questions. But did he have a fall? And what did you do? So I said, why are you asking me these questions? So she said, a lot of his capillaries in the left eye have burst open, and there's a lot of blood accumulated behind his ear, his eyes. Sorry. And I was like puzzled, but that it should happen similarly. And I explained it to her. So she said,
Mhm.
Sophia, do you know if they have any blood history in his family? And sadly, in India, we match horoscopes, and we see faces, and we see the backgrounds and the salary slips, but we never check on health issues before marriage. And I said, no, we've been just married for 15 days, so I don't know about any history in their family. So she said, okay, I think we should do certain tests. And so, that is when my intuition hit, and something told me that there's something wrong. And I requested him to go and see another doctor that I knew very, very closely. Then my father had passed away, so he had become a very close friend, the doctor. So we went there, and he said, "Oh, you've come back from your honeymoon, and how are you?" So he said, "What brings you guys here?" So I said, "This is what has been happening. I just want you to have a look at it." And the moment he had his physical examination, he advised a series of blood tests and a couple of X-rays, and he said, "Supriya, I want this done tomorrow. Seems urgent." So I said, fair enough. And when we went back home, it wasn't a very pleasant way that I was greeted, because we had just been married and I was taking him all around Pune visiting doctors. And my in-laws refused to get any blood test done. And they said nothing's wrong with him. And something kept bugging me that, we need to get this done. And I explained to my father-in-law that if there's nothing, it's good, but if there is something, we will be able to catch it early, and then we'll get it sorted out. And yes, luckily my father-in-law did listen to me, and then we got the blood test done, and that's when leukemia was detected. And we were advised to go and meet a hematologist. So it's just me and my father-in-law who go there, and the hematologist looks at the reports and he says, "Whose report is this?" So I said, "It's my husband." And he says, "Where is he?" So I said, "He's gone to work." And he said, "How can you go to work?" So that was the first bell, warning bell, that something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong. So I said, because he's fine and he's gone to work. So he says, okay. So he says, and then he sees Mendi on my hands. And then the doctor asked, "How long have you been married?" So I said, "It's been 15 days. So he said, "Is it love marriage or arranged marriage?" And I was like, why is this doctor asking me all these questions? So I said, "See, doctor, whatever you're saying, I know something is seriously wrong, and I want you to tell me honestly." So he said, "No, I'm a very honest doctor, and I am going to. But I want your family and his family and your husband tomorrow. Let me tell you what it is." So there was nobody in my family that was going to come for sure, because my parents were there, and I had not told my sisters or my brother about it. And then the next day, it was Rahul, me, and my father-in-law who went there. And in one plain sentence, the doctor says, "Okay, you've got leukemia." So me being a science student, I knew what leukemia stood for. And both Rahul and his father didn't quite understand it. He said, "Okay, in layman's word, it is blood cancer." So I could see my father-in-law crumbling inside, because the only son, just married. And Rahul very quietly collects all his reports, puts them in the bag, and he just sits. And I was, for a moment, I was like, "Supriya, you are the one who has to be strong and hold this together." So I started asking the doctor thousands of questions, like how long does he have? What is the treatment, and how do we go about it? So he said, "Supriya, why don't you come and see me tomorrow?" I was like, okay. And then we came home, and we didn't know where Rahul went, because he was on his bike and he just went off, and I was with my father-in-law. So I dropped my father-in-law home, and I looked around for Rahul, and then I finally found him on the steps, and I said, "What are you doing?" So he said, "Did you hear the doctor wants my photographs? I needed to get passport size photographs." So I said, "Rahul, did you even understand what he said? Besides the photographs, did you understand what he said?" So, yeah, I know. So let's do this stepwise. And that's the calmness that was in Rahul, which was something that anchored me also. Like, okay, we are together, we need to get out of this together. And then from there, it was like each day as it comes, meeting new doctors, trying to find out what it is, reading about it, asking questions. And my in-laws were trying to deal with it in their own ways. So, they were doing all sorts of things that made them comfortable. So, praying and doing all sorts of pujas. So I did the doctor part, and they were doing the godly part to get over things. I don't know. So yeah, from there it has been a very I wouldn't say easy journey, not at all,
Sure.
but a very, very adventurous journey.
Hmm. No, it's never easy when you get these news, and especially I think one point you brought out very rightly is that we match horoscopes and all of that. And but yeah, at the blood level, especially thalassemia major kids who are born out of this whole of not understanding that this is such an important process. And especially the last line that you said, where I was taking care of the doctor, and my in-laws were kind of looking at the other aspect. I remember when I went into the bone marrow transplant room. There was a friend who called up exactly at that time, and he said, "No, one thing. While the doctors are working at the physical level, there is a whole circle of well-wishers and friends who are working at a spiritual level to ensure that the prayers stay with you constantly. So just keep that at the back of the mind when you walk into the bone marrow treatment." And this just suddenly just this came so
Okay.
alive for me that yeah, the power of prayers, the power of community, the power of just deep friendships, noble friendships, where they're there with you through the treatment. So just moving on with this, since this was way back in 2007, so we are not talking, we're talking 15 years ago, when, so obviously this was a kind of a much, much new thing that happened and stuff like that. So how did you battle with this medication? The cost of the medication also must have been very high. And how did this all work out for you? Was there somebody at hand to help you and stuff? So how did this happen?
So, Neeraj, way back in 2007, imatinib, the chemical that was introduced, was a trial drug that time. So they were still having just a couple of patients put on it, and they didn't know how long was it working and things like that. So we were very, very lucky to have met somebody called Vijay Venkatesh, who's the head of Friends of Max. So Friends of Max is a foundation that works in India for leukemia CML patients and helps them get these medicines, because these medicines did cost a lot of money even then. So it was when we were told the cost of the medicines would be somewhere like 1.25 lakhs per month, and we didn't know what to do about it. So that is when we were introduced to Friends of Maths, and that was the turning point for us, because they arranged such beautiful programs and meets with other patients and doctors. So when we did attend one of these programs, that is the time which actually helped Rahul cope with it much better, because when he saw that he was not the only one, and when he stood on the stage and he spoke so openly about his condition, that's probably when it all just came out. And his body actually started healing from within. So to see fellow sufferers facing numerous problems which are much maybe higher in intensity or otherwise, age differences. There were kids
Mm.
who were, 10 years. There were adults who were seniors who were maybe beyond 65, and they had their own issues. But when Rahul met all of them, when it was such a happy environment, and that's when things changed for Rahul and for me too, because being a caregiver, that is when I realized that there are so many things that we don't need to do as caregivers. And one was taking away their independence. Out of concern, out of love, we tend to smother them with extra things. So let them be. Just let them heal on their own. Yes, be around to help them when they need, but don't do every smallest thing, or like every drop of a pin, don't be there for them. Let them handle themselves. That's what I learned when I attended one of the Friends of Max program. And after that, we started doing our regular dinners, going out for movies, and we decided that we have to make our environment as normal as possible. Yes, side effects with medication, chemo, that was part of it. But we were trying to figure out, we did find out ways and means of doing it. Simple things like, keeping the feet warm, drinking warm water, simple things that were helping reduce a little bit of side effects for him. So yes, not eating outside too much, but why not?
Mhm.
Once in a while, yes. After a year of medication, when the doctor said okay, we did go out for a dinner, where he could enjoy a hot cup of hot soup. But that's about it. But we did not sit at home once he was okayed by the doctor to go out, and we decided that we're going to live life to the fullest, whatever time we have together.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's been 15 years now. When you
Yes,
look back, how does it feel to you? 15 years of this togetherness, companionship, loving friendship, so-called, and obviously seeing the ups and downs of life. How does it feel now today after 15 years?
Obviously, it doesn't feel like it's been 15 years because there's something new to discover every day. I have seen myself going so well with Rahul. He's learned to tone me down. I've quietened down a lot. I have learned to respond and not react in every situation, which used to happen to me all the time. And these are the things that I have eventually evolved being with Rahul, seeing him so balanced and so thoughtful, so meaningfully being present in that moment every time. So, I always tease him, give you khichdi or a biryani, you eat with the same face. So for him, happiness or sorrow is on the same plane. So that is something that I haven't yet learned, but I'm still trying to learn from it. But itna balance रखता है that nothing pulls him down or nothing takes him, elates him to the next level ever. So that is something I have learned. And I think enjoying life is something he has learned from me. That's what he says.
Great. And, after 15 years, you're contributing just like I know for a fact when I spoke to Dr. Samir Menankari, he says that, she's been counseling patients for over a decade now. And obviously she's talking to so many more, survivors and, kind of people, who are going through a lot of this thing. And I know that you also volunteer with a old age home, come, like a mental health professional. You seem to be dabbling with just so many things at a time. Where do you get that sense of energy from, and what just motivates you on an everyday basis to do so
What
much?
motivates me? I have got so much from the society, from people around me. Like you rightly said, the friend circle, the blessings, the prayers, the good wishes that come from the thousands of people that we have around us. We're taking so much from them during our tough times. Where do we give that back? You know, this is one small way of doing it probably. And honestly, I will say that I am a bit selfish because it gives me immense happiness and satisfaction when I do this. There are times when it was very I had seen this small article in the newspaper where there was this person on a two-wheeler who
Mhm.
had put up her picture, and she had requested the civil body to put up pet dolls at signals because Pune was getting too hot. And she had written that when we are on two-wheelers, our skin burns because of the sun. So she had written a letter to the civic body requesting to put up pet dolls at signals so that, they would get tagged. And I just asked Rahul, I said, have you ever thought about the policemen who stand there day in and day out? They wear black leather shoes. Have you seen their uniforms? I said, they never complained or asked for pet dolls or umbrellas. I said, they do it. And we just, very sweetly say that that's their job. If they weren't there, let's think about all the chaos that would happen, right? So something just told me that you need to do something for them. And I just took my bike, and every day in the afternoon, I would step out with 5 liters of chas, so buttermilk, and I would give it to every single person that I would meet on the road, the traffic police. And sometimes there were, old people who were sitting and chatting with them. They would request me to give it to them, and I would. It wasn't like it was just for the police. It was anybody who wanted it because it was so hot. And every day I decided I would do one area. So it was two-wheeler leke. whichever area, Fortune one day, out road one day, way back into the city, or wherever I could go. So that was something that I did because that gave me a lot of happiness and satisfaction. Yes, so I'm being selfish in doing it because it's for my happiness that I do. And
That's, I
it's
think, a
so
lot of
nice.
humility that is speaking. I think, this is pure humility that is speaking. But one more fact we know about you, which is not a great news, but you're known to stop traffic in the middle of the road riding your bike. So
Okay,
what's
so
this
there's a big
episode about? Can we
request.
hear this episode, please? I think this is an
Okay,
episode
so
that people should hear about.
let's have a viewer's disclaimer that nobody should try this. Okay, so this happened a couple of years ago. I was on my two-wheeler and Rahul was in the car and we were headed home. So I told him that I had a quick stop at one of the shops to just pick up something and I would reach home. And I reached home much later. So he said, "What happened?" So I had been to the shop, and before I parked my scooter, I had seen an old lady trying to cross the road. And I bought everything, and you know how Pune shops are. So, there was a line and billing and everything. And I came out after a good 20 minutes, and that old lady was still outside of the road trying to cross the road. And I asked her, I said, "What happened?" So she said, "I've been here for past 40 minutes trying to cross the road." But she said, "Nobody seems to even slow down." So I said, "Okay, can I help you?" And she immediately extended her hand and I tried crossing the road. But even if we stepped ahead, the cars would raise their speed or, nobody would slow down. And after 10 minutes, I thought I need to do something else. So I just took my scooter and I put it across the road. And there were a lot of brakes screeching along with beautiful, never heard of bad words, slangs given to me for because I had stopped two big lanes, and I helped her cross the road. I came back. I apologized to the bus driver. I apologized to the car drivers. I said, "I'm sorry, but I needed to do this." And I came home. So Rahul was stunned, and Rahul said that you need to sometimes use your brain. That what would have happened. So I said, "Rahul, what would have happened?" They would have run over my two-wheeler. I said, "That was cost of one two-wheeler." Yes. I said, "But that lady at her age, she was close to 80 years old. Where have we lost that humanity? You can see an old lady trying to cross the road all by herself, and we can't stop for her. That is sad." And yes, this is something that just comes out, and this is what I meant that I react. When I see something, I just react.
No, but I think that is
So
so needed, and especially I think with this humanity and the level of compassion that you have. So
and
let's
stupidity. Let's
moving
add a
on
little bit of
to.
stupidity to it.
No,
People
I
would
think
call us stupid here.
no, I think there are nerds all over the place, and I think we just one more nerd. I think we're not stupid in that real sense, but just this flow of compassion you have now been able to direct in a very different direction called Atman Matrimonial. How did this entire thing come up? So just share, where did this spring up from? How did this? What's the motive behind? And what do you want to do with this?
So, Atman, it's actually a Sanskrit word which denotes your soul. So, a pure soul. Okay. So, this is something that happened while I was counseling. I don't like to use the word counseling, but I would rather say chat. When I was chatting with cancer survivors or their families. So, very young kids who would get back on their feet would join office and they would do very well in life otherwise, like finances wise, friend circle, everything. But what was missing in their lives was a companion. And everybody would say who would get married to us. So, every time I would hear that, it did pain me a bit. And I used to come and ask Rahul, I said, "What can we do? We need to search for somebody, at least one if we could do it." So he says, "Okay, it's very difficult because our society is not yet that open-minded, and people still want to hide about their ailments. They don't come out open." So he said it's going to be difficult. So this was about 4 years ago that we have talked about. But that Kida was in my brain all the time and annoying and कि कुछ तो करना है. Let's do something. So finally, after I think COVID or during COVID when we had a lot of time on hand, we actually sat down together and I said, why not start a matrimonial service for them? So he said, who's going to come? I said, let's see who comes. So we floated this idea with Dr. Samir Galikari, and as usual, he was extremely positive, encouraging, motivated. He said, do it right away. So that is it. In June, we had this idea in mind. We met, and like we previously said, the universe just gets things and people in the right place at the right time. And we met such wonderful people in this journey. We got people, lawyers, who were ready to help us put down all the legalities and give shape to our uh, idea without charging us anything, which was so amazing. We got people who gave us their space to use without charging us anything. They said, "This is your office. You really think that yes, now you are on the right path because God is sending these Samaritans your way. That this is the job that you have to do, and you will find those people in your path. We've got such wonderful people here that that have just stood up. Like you guys go ahead, we are here, we'll do this." So
Fantastic.
Atman is why Atman the name sprung up is chemo के पहले you have this pre-chemo एक ये देते हैं IV through the IV to cleanse your body, right? So you do chemo and then your body undergoes a lot of change. I felt that after cancer experience, the soul also changes. People, because they have experienced, I wouldn't say death, but they have experienced something as harrowing as, what if I don't wake up tomorrow? That kind of a feeling. It changes their soul, and their souls become pure because then these survivors stand up to help each other. So when I saw those souls, pure souls, Atman had to be the right way for the matrimony. So yes, we are here to find soulmates for these souls.
No, that's absolutely wonderful. I tell you, I don't think this is something that people have really thought through it. But world over, I'm sure this will be appreciated, and yeah, this is amazing. But I'm sure along with this, there are a lot of questions that people have, right? Like there are normal questions that even we get in the BMT Foundation, saying after bone marrow, how it's going to be, my, say, let's say the sexual health, will I be able to have kids? Will I be able to live a normal life? How will I balance everything? Given the fact that maybe one partner might be going through something, the other partner is just out of it. So how do you handle these questions? And
So Neeraj, this is not like any other matrimonial service where you just come, you give your photograph, and you register, then you fill up a form, and then it's done, and then you see photographs of other people and the prospect, and then it's matched. It doesn't do that. So we have a very, very strong list of questions, right from the day of diagnosis, what was the line of treatment, what has happened, the hereditary conditions, everything in detail. And once they have filled up the form, even before they fill up the form, we actually sit and talk to them as to why they want to get married. So, is it just to have somebody in life, or because is it parental pressure, the society's pressure, or is it that they have really given it a thought? A lot of them who have already registered with us came up telling us that, in India, after a certain age, people, parents and bua and aunties and uncles start saying it's time to get registered.
Yeah.
So they went to normal, so-called normal people's matrimonial services, and all of them got a similar request that they should hide about the age. And all these kids were like, we don't want to. So that is something that was commendable about these survivors that they didn't want to start off, their lives or by hiding their conditions. So we do talk about them, and once we feel that yes, they are really ready for a marriage, we give them the form. After they have done the form, and we feel that two people might get along well, we exchange only the information, the basic information. No photographs show, because हमारे यहाँ पे looks पे बहुत जाते हैं ना, दिखने में कैसा है ये वो. So we don't share the photographs first. If both the parties agree that they want to meet up, we arrange the meetup. Then we exchange their numbers. So it is that they see each other physically, because photographs can be deceptive. You know that leukemia ke medicines ke baad your color changes, your hair changes, everything changes. So we tell them to meet in person. Once, this is step number 2, once they have agreed that they really want to go ahead with this, the next condition is that both the parties go and meet the individual doctors. So the boy meets the girl's doctor, the girl meets the boy's doctor with their set of questions. Then, if the doctors also say go ahead, then the families meet up, the marriage happens. But before the marriage happens, they have to compulsorily meet our pre-marital counselor. And she is a beautiful human being, again, aged 75 years. But if you listen to her, it is so amazing. I mean, the first couple that's soon going to get married, Atman's first couple that's going to get married, they said that Supriya Tai, after speaking to her, we understood the meaning of relationship. So that's the kind of talk she had with them. So she does talk about the finances, the sexual relationship, the interpersonal relationships with the in-laws, with the other siblings in the house, etc. And she talks about their individuality. And just because you're getting married, you don't lose being Miss so-and-so and boy, for the boy also. So that is the next step. After marriage, if they do wish to have kids, Atman steps in again, and they have to meet a genetic specialist so that she would talk to them about whether the offspring would be at risk of having any sort of deficit, and only after they go ahead and okay, then they plan for the baby, and that's where Atman steps out. So Atman is going to be a part of their life, I think, till they meet us.
Beautiful, Supriya. And I think after hearing this, honestly, I think there is just so much confidence in us to kind of very, very effortlessly refer you to Atman. And just for the viewers, I think, if there is anybody, we can browse through the website of Atman Matrimonial. It's www.atmanmatrimonial.com. We will put it up on the chat also. And I think, if there is any references of people looking out, but one big social change that this will do is this will enable people to not hide. I think the biggest cancer is the cancer of kisi ko mat batana. And I think that's really a bigger cancer than what a person goes through, or a disability or a condition or anything. And I think India needs to come out of this. It needs to talk about it. It needs to voice their this thing, saying I have a problem and I'm living with it and I need help. And I think there is resources at every level to be able to be available to them. So 10 years down the line, Supriya, there'll be a lineup of Matrimonial. Unfortunately, I could have been a very eligible groom, but I'm just 20 years late. I'm CML, bone marrow transplant survivor, and all the right ticks marks.
Ticks in all the boxes.
Yeah, but I'm married in 20 years into marriage. Otherwise, I would have been a very eligible bachelor in this scenario. But I think, jokes apart, Supriya, I think this is absolutely commendable. And it's so wonderful to hear this from you. We are just, I think, about 13 minutes short of our interview. So I think let's open this up to the audience if they have any questions.
Sure.
And if not, then we'll continue our conversation. But if the audience has any questions right now, feel free to unmute and ask the question directly to Supriya. I think you have your chance now. Is the audience already spellbound by by your
It's
words
too
and the
much. I
motivation?
guess it's too much of information.
No, I think yeah, I think there's still a processing going on about how to kind of look at this and stuff. But how do you wish to take Atman? So even people who are hearing this, there are people who've been a part of the volunteering group within the audience circle, and there are some who've been running an NGO for about 28 years now into the cancer space. So what is the message that you would want to give of how they can spread this word of Atman and kind of really take it to people?
So during this discussion with doctors and friend circles, people, well-wishers, we came across a lot of people who said, why only cancer? Why not diabetes? Why not HIV positives? So now that is how we spread it out. So we said, yes, why not? Why not? It's probably because we were very comfortable with talking about CML because we've had this first-hand experience about CML.
Right.
And as a caregiver or as a spouse, I was confident enough to, answer the questions. But when we heard so many people saying, why not this disability and why not that disability? So we decided, let's include everybody and anybody who's willing to, get registered. We do.
Sure.
And that is why, yes, our next thing is going to be where we are going to approach all the NGOs or all the people silently working on these fronts, like people like you also, who quit their jobs or want to really do something big in this field because it's the need of the society. So if we all come together, I don't think we need marketing and we need to put up, right? So I think it's just like what you said. People need to accept and come forward and say that yes, I have this condition and I'm living with it. So instead of feeling like a victim, I think everybody should start feeling like a warrior because you have the strength to overcome your condition and you're leading a normal life. So you are a warrior in your own sense. So don't feel victimized. Probably one of the strong reasons that people want to hide this is because of the over concern and questions and the pity that people shower upon them. So I think we need to create a lot of awareness in the society also that you don't need to be there for that person. You don't need to, oh my God, bechara. We don't need that.
Sure. No, absolutely. I think that's a great point. But also coming to the other point of when we, marriage is also certain times about longevity. And how much can we live together and the things that are attached. So how does one address this question of longevity and living together?
I am not the right person to talk about this because I was never that person, that I want to live till the age of 90 and I want to do this and that.
Sure.
It should be like I have today. I know this sounds very cliche, but if you have this day to yourself, make the most of it. Make the most of it. You're not going to get this again tomorrow. Yes, everybody is going to have their set of problems. Okay, you have today, make the most of it, enjoy life. It's not going to come again. So instead of thinking how many years do I have on my hand that after 20 years I will do this, live it today. आज क्या किया ये तो पूछो खुद को.
Beautiful. Yeah. Amazing. And I think already in the comment box, there are some beautiful words being shared for you, which I will share with you obviously a little later. But I think this is so amazing, Supriya, the step that you are taking. And I think it takes a lot of courage, whether one accepts it or not. I think to walk this path is actually like surfing the storm, saying you are wading through a it's like a wave, and this is an anti-wave. You're walking against the powerful wave of the societal norms and wanting to break through and create something different. So really, hats off and kudos to you on this. And I think it's going to be a brilliant journey for sure. We will all pray for a very fruitful Atman matrimonial to grow bigger and larger, and be able to bring happiness in so many other people's lives. So I think this is really a prayer for all of us, and I think this is the wish that we would want to hold in this call today at the end of this session. Just once more, I would want to open it to the audience. In case if there are still any more questions browsing from you. Okay, I think we don't have any more questions, Supriya. Just one last message for the couples who are looking out to reach out to Atman, because there is this inhibition, shall I call, shall I talk to them, shall I reach out, how will they look at me, how will they face me and stuff. So one message for these couples who are kind of looking for a partner. So what is that one message that you would wish to share?
Take that first step.
Take the first step. Yeah, I wish life was so simple, Supriya, but but I think beautifully shared.
Honestly,
exactly.
it is.
Step. Yeah.
Honestly, it is. Take that first step. See, there are only two options every time in life. Either it will work or it won't work. और वो step ही नहीं लोगे, so how would you know if it's going to work?
Correct. Beautiful. I think this should be the tagline of Atman Matrimonials.
Let's do that.
Yeah, take the first step. Beautiful. So so thank you so much, Supriya, for this very insightful and amazing call. And I think your spirit just lives much more than this call, and it's so vibrant and so alive. So really, thank you so much, and looking forward to working with you in this space and really seeing how we can all contribute in small ways to kind of help us grow together. And so thank you so much once again.
That's what we need to do. Join hands so that that human energy that we have in each one of us, it just comes together and it heals other human beings. I'm sure we can all do it in our own ways. Yes, we can. Kiran, once again, thank you so much for this wonderful platform and this idea that you have of, giving an opportunity for people to hear from others. There are so many people who have gone through so many things and we don't even know about it. So you are creating that platform for those people.
Again, very selfish interest of how to
each one of us does it for our own.
No, but I think this whole platform was really meant to, I think, elevate this level of consciousness that we all are at. And how do we work towards a common goal? The common goal is really to be with people, to kind of be a part of their journey. And so this is this is so amazing that you share the same spirit with us. Yeah, so God bless you, and really looking forward for Atman Matrimonial to really give a beating to shadi.com and marriage.com.
No, let's not go there.
No, I'm just joking. But I'm sure it'll give a, it's a huge breather for a lot of people. So I just look at it that way, and I think it's a blessing for humanity as a whole. So thank you so much once again, and looking forward to working with you on this. Thank you, Supriya.
Thank you so much.